Hello again, team. Welcome to the podcast. It's Success Won't Come Calling, which is the podcast for people who want to be better tomorrow than they were today. I'm Simon Gibson, reporting for duty, like I do every Wednesday. I'm wandering on a beautiful day in Liverpool city centre to the studios to interview my guest for episode 6 of the podcast, who is Gemma Ray. Gemma is a best-selling author. She has 2 books, one called Self-Discipline and one called Stop Procrastinating and Start Living. I've read both of them and I love them. I've got lots of questions about those for Gemma. And also, I want to ask Gemma about the challenges she has encountered herself and how she's found solutions for those, and of course how she's managed to move forward positively. Gemma's also now part of a fantastic business which is called Body Smart Fitness, which provides clients with coaching and help with diet, nutrition, fitness and general well-being. In addition to that, Gemma is also a podcaster. She hosts one of my favourite podcasts, which is called Honest to Gob, which we will be talking to her about. So there's lots to get through. It's going to be a fantastic episode. I hope you enjoy it as well. I'll be back with Stacey for a debrief at the end. But in the meantime, sit back, relax and enjoy my conversation with Gemma Ray. Are we all ready? Good, here we go.
Oh, Gemma, thanks for doing this.
Thank you very much for having me.
We've got such a lot to talk about. I've got a long list of things to go through. But first of all, we do guest rider.
Which was amazing.
Podcast.
I wasn't expecting
Well,
that at all. That made me feel like Beyonce. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Well, the red carpet comes out for all my guests. But today, we're not drinking Prosecco. We're drinking No Secco. So this is alcohol-free.
Yeah. Have you tried this before?
I've not, but I'm not a big sparkling wine drinker, but it's tasty, isn't it?
Yeah. For me, I gave up drinking back in February last year, and it's the habit of having a glass in your hand and not feeling like you're missing out. So a lot of people who are pregnant actually drink this because it's got no alcohol in it. But for me, it's about having a nice glass, bit of fizz, bit of bubbles, having a laugh with the girls in the sunshine. And it is the habit. It's that same feeling of, oh, it's summer.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I'm celebrating. Or, oh, we're having a party or whatever. So... yeah,
there is that psychological element, isn't there? I want to come back to that, to that sort of decision to stop drinking, because it seems to me it's consistent with a number of your other pieces of work.
Yeah.
So first of all, I love both of your books. First of all, first book was Self-Discipline, which was in 2018. And then about 12 months ago, we had Stop Procrastinating and Start Living.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is a fantastic book. And what we're going to do on our socials is we're going to post links to your website and to Amazon and that sort of thing. And I would really recommend those to everyone. So let's jump straight in with what does self-discipline mean to you?
The highest form of self-care. Literally, like, let me put my nose second on. I should warn you because it is a very big glass, because what I didn't tell you was anybody actually thinking of investing in this stuff, if you drink too much of it too quickly, you might have a Finch moment, the guy off American Pie where he runs off to the toilets very quickly. Okay. So just be aware of that.
So that what's the causation for that? Is there something
No idea.
laxative?
It took me ages to work it out.
Really?
It was that stuff that I had again.
Well, we're only on for 3/4 of an hour, so I'm going to keep your fingers and everything else crossed during that period.
Absolutely. So yeah, going back to self-discipline, for me, the highest form of self-care. I talk about self-discipline very differently to a lot of people. If you look at my book on Amazon against other people like David Goggins, have you heard of David Goggins before? He's got an amazing book, an amazing audio book called Can't Hurt Me. He is incredible. He's a former Navy SEAL in America, and he has this catchphrase, you've got to callous the mind. And he can run like an ultramarathon on a cracker and half a bottle of water and kidney failure, which is amazing, if you can do that. I do self-discipline for the normal, real, average person stuck in a struggle juggle of trying to keep their house clean, keep the kids alive, and do their best at work. Because I think there's a market definitely for mental resilience, mental toughness, self-discipline, people who are ex-military, Olympians. And while that is incredible, and you can definitely draw some inspiration and advice and tried and tested methods from those kind of people, I'm the kind of person that's going to help you pair your socks, put the washing away, make sure the dogs are walked, get your water drunk. It's the boring stuff, but actually for me, it's the stuff that when I started doing it, I realised it was self-care and it was improving my life in mega, mega ways.
Yeah, I mean, I really got that from the book, because the reason I really took to it was because you're not approaching the writing as someone who is perfect.
I have not got my stuff together at all. I am not somebody who is naturally disciplined at all. I'm a free-spirited, wild, like, don't put me in a box, don't make me have routine, and I'm untidy. But when I have routine and when I have structure and when I treat self-discipline as a series of promises to myself, when I keep them, magical things happen. And it comes down to self-trust. I start to trust that I can do things. And when I start to trust myself, I believe in myself. And when you believe in yourself, I truly believe that's at the heart of success. That's at the heart of everything that you can do. Because when you don't believe in yourself, working backwards on my second book, that's why you procrastinate. Because if you don't believe you can do something, or you don't believe you're good enough, or you have really, really low levels of self-worth, it can stop you and paralyze you in your tracks before you've even taken action. So I like to think of discipline as a series of decisions or a series of promises that we keep no matter what. And then you build that self-trust, you build that self-belief, and then that's when success comes.
I agree with that. I'm very interested in this concept of self-trust, because it seems to me that if you are going to trust yourself to not just to be disciplined, but to achieve a goal, I'm just thinking where I put this. You've got to sort of forgive yourself for the reason why you're in that situation in the first place.
The most important thing. And that is, if somebody was to say to me, and a lot of people do, like, how do I stop procrastinating? That is the first thing that I say to people. You've got to Elsa it, right? You've got to let it go. You've got to Elsa the bleep out of it. You've just got to let it go. Because there was a study done, actually. So students in a university, Carleton University, there was a study done that students who had admitted to procrastinating on revising for their first exam of the year reported feelings of guilt and shame and not feeling good enough and low levels of self-worth. So they put these these students who'd reported that they'd procrastinated and not done the study that they wanted to, they took a group of them and actively made them do self-forgiveness, a process of self-forgiveness for not studying on time. And it acts as like wiping the slate clean. And then when it came to taking their next midterm exams, they performed better than the other study group that did nothing. So forgiveness is hugely important. It's been a massive revelation to me. I'm somebody who journals quite a lot. A journal prompt I use quite a lot is, what do I need to forgive myself for? And it's amazing how you can feel liberated. You can feel like, because it doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You cannot change it. You only have this moment and all the moments in the future. So if you're feeling rubbish because you've stalled on losing weight or training for that marathon or a business goal, whatever it might be, the art of self-forgiveness is going to help you draw that line underneath it and start again.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting you mentioned weight loss there, because this is certainly when at times when I think, to myself, you've got to lose a few pounds. We all wake up, don't we, in January and think, right, we've got to move forward here. We've got to shed some timber. And it's a strange one, because the fact that you're in that position which you don't like and which you want to change, the enormity and the self-blame in that can be a barrier to addressing the thing you're unhappy about. Yeah.
Absolutely. You can. I've been in a cycle before. So I've lost 40 pounds over the last year. I gained a lot. I had a breakdown in 2016, and some people use booze, drugs, gambling. I used food, and I gained a lot of weight, 60 pounds in a very short space of time. So I was stuck, looking in the mirror, that self-loathing, pulling violently on my skin, my arms, pulling my belly and trying to flatten it down and pulling at the wrinkles. And I did that for such a long period of time, months and months and months, many, many, many years as well. And then I'm not religious, but if I was, I feel like I had a really, really weird moment where I might have been gifted from God, where I was looking in the mirror, doing this same ritual that I've been doing every day, which was keeping me stuck. It wasn't helping me at all. It was just making me hate myself even further. You cannot make a change when you hate yourself. It's not a healthy place to be. So I'm stood in the mirror, I'm pulling violently at my skin, I'm hating what I see. And I feel like I had this moment where I had a split second and I noticed my own face and my own reaction to myself. And it was just full of disgust, self-loathing, humiliation, shame, guilt. And I just thought, what am I doing to myself? Why am I doing this? And there may be many women listening to this who will understand this, maybe even some men, with that standing in the mirror, being so awful to ourselves. And that was a moment that I feel was gifted, that I just spotted my reaction and thought, no, this can't continue. Because if I don't love what I see in the mirror, that is just going to destroy my life in so many ways. So I actually went and did this thing called rapid transformational therapy, which is like a form of hypnotherapy. And you get like a meditation recorded specifically for you. You speak to the person and they write this meditation script. They take you into a state of meditation and hypnosis, and then you're supposed to listen to it for 21 days. And for me, it was all about breathing love, appreciation, and gratitude back into every cell in my body. And I did that for 21 days, which was a real alien feeling to me. And journaling was a massive part of that. I had to submit my journal entries to the person. And that was about forgiveness. It was about self-love. And it completely changed my life, because I was able to see that approaching that goal of losing weight from a place of, you can't hate yourself thin. You can't. You've got to start from where you are. You've got to realize what you're capable of, and you've got to take those small incremental steps, make those daily decisions, keep those promises to yourself, and then you will make changes over time. And I realized I was just like a series of decisions away from that future version of myself. I initially gave myself like a 90-day timeline, and I had a sexy spreadsheet where I tracked all of my actions and my goals on there. And I realized that I was 270 meal decisions away from meeting that future version of me. I was 180 litres of water away from meeting that future version of me. I was 30 odd workouts away, from meeting that future version of me. And when I was able to break it down into those smaller steps, it was super, super helpful. And that's when I started to make some changes. And the journaling was all about, these are the promises that I'm going to keep to myself today, why they're important to me, and can't change it. The past doesn't matter. It didn't matter if one day hadn't gone to plan. It was like, right, come on, next day we go again. What are the decisions? What are the promises we're going to make today? And let's do it. And it's me against me. And it's super empowering when you can get to that place where, and it comes back to that self-trust piece. I trusted myself that I could do it by taking these small daily decisions, and it just opened up this self-worth and self-belief in so many other areas.
Wow, I mean, that's so powerful. Are you okay to ask you some questions about that?
Of course I am, yeah. Great. I'm an open book. You can ask me absolutely anything.
Because it's so powerful and so moving. Going back to that really hard-hitting picture you painted for us in terms of being stood in front of the mirror, literally pulling at yourself.
Yeah.
Was that a moment where you paused and thought, this is the point from which I must move forward? So was it a positive, it sounds awful to say it's a positive moment. Was it a pivotal moment?
Absolutely. That's what I mean. Like, it was weird. I'm quite a spiritual person. I'm not religious, but honestly, I felt like time stood still for a couple of seconds to enable me to kind of look at my face and go, God, what am I doing to myself? I've got a son, I haven't got a daughter, but I thought, if I had a kid with me now watching this and observing this every day, what damage could I be instilling on somebody else? And what am I doing to myself? It was just hard. It was a pivotal. I've had many pivotal moments, many, but it definitely was the point where I was like, I cannot continue with this self-loathing. It is not serving me at all, and it's got to go, and I'm the only person who can eliminate it.
Yes, absolutely. What advice would you give to, I'm just putting myself in my audience's perspective here, because I know there will be other people listening to this who feel like this. It might not be, of course, about a weight or a food issue. It could be about anything, but they're looking in the mirror and they're not liking what they see. How would you advise they turn that traumatic moment into the start of this wonderful journey that you've described? What's the starting point in moving forward? You
have to get honest with yourself. You've got to have a really, really hard conversation with yourself as well. And you've got to, another journal thing I do quite a lot is, what do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? And as a woman, standing in the mirror, knowing I desperately wanted to lose this weight that I'd piled on when my mental health had declined, it's really easy to kind of then start Googling for liposuction, surgery, pills, shakes, something extreme. And I knew that I'd done all that before and I'd been stuck in that diet trap. And it's really easy to think you've got to do everything and you've got to change everything now. You don't. And I would literally ask anybody, if they ever feel like this, to ask themselves the following questions. How much water do you drink a day? How much sleep do you get at night? Do you know how much you're eating? Are you drinking too much? And are you really stressed? And address those things first. And start really, really small. So I've got a friend of mine who was always like, I can never drink water. And I challenged her to just drink a small glass. Just do a small glass and send me a picture. Small glass a day, send me a picture, do it for a week. Week 2, 2 glasses. Week 3, 3 glasses. And that's how I approach absolutely everything, with small incremental changes. I'm a massive fan of morning routines, and a lot of people will say to me, how can I get up earlier? Well, I tell you how you can get up earlier. Start with 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Not 30, not 60, not 90. Start with 3, then 5. And take it to 10, then do 15 and build up. We're always in such a rush to get to our end destination, and goal overwhelm is a massive thing for people, when you feel like it's just so far away. Whereas if you can strip it back and take it back to that most basic action, that's really going to help you. Have you ever read Atomic Habits by James Clear?
No, I've not.
Brilliant book.
Really?
Absolutely fantastic book. So
I'll check that out.
He's really cool. And he talks about, if something, and he uses an example of somebody training for a running race. If you're struggling to get out the door and train, why don't you strip that goal right back? So you might have an action of, I want to run 3 times a week, or I want to run 20 miles a week. Why don't you strip it back to, I'm going to put my trainers on 3 times a week and walk out my front door. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, when you strip it back to that most basic action, you're more likely to win and you're more likely to succeed.
And then you start to believe.
So this time last year, when I was writing my second book, it was actually my third. I'd already done it. I started writing my third book and I'd set myself a challenge of 2,000 words a day. I'm going to write 2,000 words a day. And I did do it for about a week. And then, life gets in the way, kids, challenges, whatever. And I didn't do it one day. So then it's like you chuck the towel in.
Yeah.
And it's like that mobile phone analogy. If you were to drop your mobile phone and shatter it, would you then carry on jumping on it and smash it into smithereens? Or would you go and get it and take it to be repaired, So I had to kind of take this back to its most basic form and think, right, how can I make sure that I win every day? So my goal changed from, I'm going to write 2,000 words a day, to, I'm going to open my manuscript every day. And I had little alarms to remind me. And some days I would open my laptop, log into Google Docs and go, ta-da!
Yeah.
I've done it. And then other days, while I was feeling in flow and feeling creative, there was one particular weekend I'd written like 10,000 words in a day because I was in the zone.
Yeah.
And that that was mega empowering. That was really, really cool to be able to kind of go, well, I said I would do it. And that's what this all comes down to. Doing what you say you're going to do, not for anybody else, but to yourself and for yourself. So for anybody listening with any kind of goal, strip it back to its most basic, easiest action that you are guaranteed to be able to do.
Set yourself realistic targets and smash them.
Yeah.
Because what that does is it's this issue of belief and self-affirmation. Whereas if you, and again, I'm smiling here because we've had some business discussions over the years like this where my natural instinct is to go mega ambitious in terms of the business plan. But we were finding that we were underperforming, and that was quite demoralizing.
Yeah.
We now set ourselves what I still think are relatively ambitious targets. But because we beat them, it's even more positive and even more empowering. So you've used this in a weight loss situation.
Yeah.
You've also applied it to your writing. I've applied it to business. And I would definitely agree with you, Gemma, that if someone's in a situation that they're unhappy with, and it can be anything, don't think exclusively about the end game.
No.
It's fine to have an end game. But in fact, you've got a really happy time in front of you where you tick off lots of small victories as you move along. And if you can think about moving to the next small victory to tick off, things will begin to feel better and better and better as you move through. And it's much better to think about those, I think, whilst also bearing your ultimate goal in mind, but not to become overwhelmed by the long-term goal.
On a business perspective as well, if you've got lots of people working on a goal, so there's lots of moving parts. I don't know if you've come across this before, the Scrum methodology.
Yes.
So after 2 weeks, you reassess, which is super powerful. It's really amazing for teams, but you can do that for yourself. And I did this. I was talking about tracking my goals on my sexy spreadsheet. So I have a short link for it. In fact, I think I can remember it. bit.ly/Gemma's sexy spreadsheet. I'm sure that's what it is. Anybody can take it and use a copy of it. And I track actions on there, like, have I walked my 10,000 steps? Have I done my water? And it's incredible to be able to track that data, to measure that data. Oh, producer Jacob's trying to get it up at the moment. I'm sure it's bit.ly, Gemma's sexy spreadsheet.
We've got to see this. Will people be able to see this on YouTube?
Yeah, they should be able to. Is it not working? It might be Gemma sexy spreadsheet.
If you do an internet search on that, all sorts of stuff.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Still have Google the porn star.
I'm still trying to get her on.
Well, I'll come up with porn. I was like,
Listen, we're leaving all this bit in, by the way. So do everything you say is going in. Hey, listen, success is success. I'll talk to anyone.
type porn up together.
Can we not get Gemma's sexy spreadsheet up? Don't worry.
Try Gemma Ray sexy spreadsheet.
We'll put it in our socials, but we'll be particularly careful it is what we think it is.
bit.ly/ Ray sexy spreadsheet. Oh. No, I'll find it.
Oh, I'm pretty disappointed, but I'll get over it.
I know. I'll send you the proper link, or I'll actually change it to that. I could change it to that actually. Yeah, Gemma sexy spreadsheet. I could change it to that. I can do that in a bit.
But it's interesting, isn't it? I love this this analogy you used earlier about you are X liters of water and X number of workouts and X number of good meals away from achieving your goal. I mean, that is fantastic advice for anyone who wants to lose weight, or just fantastic advice, full stop.
Yeah.
But it breaks it down to what you're doing this hour, this day, the positive things you can do this day. And then when you go to bed, you think, mission accomplished.
You ever seen The Simpsons? You know, where Bart Simpson's doing his lines on the chalkboard.
Yeah,
that's what my journal used to look like every morning. I choose to eat a healthy salad with Hunter's chicken. I choose to go to the gym. Like, if anybody was to find my journal, they would get me locked up. But it was just, I used to write them out like lines what choices, what decisions am I making today? And then I say think in ink. So I think writing out in your own handwriting is really powerful.
Yeah.
But it would just make a massive difference to me knowing when I was doing this initially, when I was just trying to get over the line. I think kickstarting any kind of goal is the hardest part. So yeah, writing out those. Today, I get to decide to drink 3 litres of water, read 10 pages of my self-development book, meditate.
But it works, and that's the important thing. We're going to have a 60-second break. I'm back with Gemma Ray straight after half time, guys. We've still got a ton to get through. As I say, Gemma's books will be on our socials. We're going to be talking the Honest to God podcast, Gemma's work as a speaker, and also the Body Smart fitness business, which Gemma's involved in now. So lots of good stuff to come. See you back after half time with Gemma Ray.
It's half time, friends. My recommendation this week is to anyone who's trying to eat or drink better, but they like sugar in the tea or coffee. That was me until recently. I gave a stevia liquid a bash, which is made by NKD Living. We'll put details of that on our socials. It's nicer than sugar. I really enjoy it. And it's chemicals free, it's calories free, it's 100% plant-based. You can't get it in the supermarkets. I've not been able to find it anywhere, but we've got a local independent health food store near to us, which is really, really great. And we can get it in there. It comes in a really convenient small bottle, which means you can take it around with you during the day. And when you're having a brew, it means that you can drop it in and really enjoy it as if it had sugar in. So that's the stevia liquid from NKD Living. Reminder, they're not paying me for this recommendation. It's just because I like it and it works for me. And now it's back to the podcast with Gemma Ray. She's pretty great, isn't she?
Okay, we're back with Gemma Ray. Welcome back again, Gemma.
Thanks.
Are you enjoying your Prosecco?
I've only had a little swig. Want to be careful.
Yeah, we've not had any unfortunate incidents so far, so I'm staying
positive. Don't want
positive.
it to have the Senecott effect.
Let me ask you a question you must have been asked hundreds of times. Are you ever mistaken for the British jazz composer, film producer?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. Only because of the name. So I get tweets for her quite a lot. Actually, when I bought my website domain, gemmaray.com, it was on for like a few grand. So I knew why it was on for a few grand because she's got gemmaray.tv. She went the cheap route. But I really, really wanted the .com. So I went to the American hosting company. I was like, hi, I've already got gemmaray.co.uk and I want to buy gemmaray.com. And I don't understand why it's so expensive. I'm just a mum from Liverpool. So it was on for a couple of thousand and I ended up buying it for $100. So Gemma Ray, the singer, will be fuming knowing that she could have just bartered with them and got it for cheap.
Well, for what it's worth, I think you're a much better Gemma Ray than she is.
Thanks very much.
So we talked about your 2 excellent books. First of all, I mean, obviously, I want to talk about the business you're involved in now, which is Body Smart Fitness, which takes, for me, so many of the principles that we've just been talking about and puts it into an actual mentoring and coaching and advisory format. But first of all, you're a podcaster yourself.
I am, yes.
The Honest to God podcast. It's on all platforms. I listen to it on Spotify.
Yeah,
it's on them
platforms.
all, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if I've ticked all the buttons on Buzzsprout, it's on all the platforms.
And it's a podcast about honesty, isn't it? And there is some quite astonishingly honest stories on there. How do you sort of structure the themes you want to talk about? How do you find your guests? Is it very well planned, or is it something you just reach out to people when you hear interesting stories?
One of my values is truth. So I have to tell you the truth. We fly by the seat of our pants. We panic. We have a Zoom probably like a few hours before and go, what are we going to talk about? That's how it goes. But guess wise, I'm quite lucky. I was a BBC radio presenter, so the Little Black Book is good. There's some great guests that I had on my BBC Lancashire show, so we're able to kind of go, do you fancy coming in on the podcast? Which is amazing because you get more time with people. I'm not stuck rigid to like 6 to 8 minutes and the traffic's coming up and we've got to get Lionel Richie on. It's nice to be able to just have a guest on and chat like we're doing now. It's lovely.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about podcasts, isn't it? And it's why I wanted to start doing one as well, because I think there's a gap developed between the broadsheets, Radio 4, etc. And then the other hand, the sort of clickbait of social media, where people are just interested in having a deeper dive into important topics.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what I'm really enjoying on this podcast, that you can actually go off on tangents. You can ask someone's opinions about something that doesn't necessarily fall within their area of expertise. You can be calm, you can be rational, you can be provocative, but in a very, I'm going to call it a sensible format. It's not a great way of describing it, but it feels to me that we're entering the age of the podcast now.
I don't know. When I started my broadcasting career 20 years ago, and I would say 15 years ago, podcasts were huge, and I mean huge. So I was working in radio. It was like Apple had just started to release the podcast charts. We would always try and get positioned and placed. And I do feel like it kind of tailed off for a bit, but it's definitely over the last few years become more popular. And that's because we're all time poor. In the past, we would read a lot. We've got the likes of audiobooks now, which people enjoy. And, you know, you can spend 7 or 8 hours listening to an audiobook and maybe get a couple of good gems out of it. But what I love about podcasting is you can have, like you say, a deep conversation, and you can take that person's whole kind of knowledge, experience, learning that they can share in one shorter conversation. So I don't listen to music anymore. I've never really been into music. I've been into podcasts for a long time. So I love consuming podcasts when it encourages me to walk and get out, in the car, in the gym. So yeah, yours will be on my playlist now.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Yours is already on mine. But I agree with all that. I mean, I didn't know they were as old as that. But I also, what I say to people, particularly in business, is it's very hard to inform your prospective clients and prospective staff what you are like as a person through a website. And people still like to know people. And doing a podcast, for me, it's given a great opportunity, I think, to basically say, you know, come and work for this fella. He's all right.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to put that message across just through more conventional communication strategies. So I think we're both converts, aren't we?
Like I say, I've been consuming podcasts for many years. I absolutely love them. We've just decided actually today at Body Smart Fitness, we've got a podcast. We've got coaches in the UK, America, and Canada, and actually we want to do episodes with each coach and tell their story and tell their backstory, so that when somebody signs up for one-to-one coaching, we can send them in the gap between them signing up and them getting on the first call with a coach. We can send them a link to the podcast to say, "Hey, go meet Coach Kelly. This is what she's about." And I think that will help cement, like, they'll know what they're about. They'll know what to expect. You can kind of gauge a sense of a person from that. So yeah, there's lots of things, and podcasts don't have to be Joe Rogan 3-hour epics. They can be short and sweet. I listen to some brilliant podcasts that are literally like 5-minute snippets of valuable information. And I like what you're doing. You're doing it a little bit differently. You're bringing Stacey in, and you're having breaks and things. It's more like a show rather than a podcast, and you can tell you're putting a lot of thought into it. So you should be very proud. I feel like I'm being a bit patronising there, but you should be very proud.
Kind words are always gratefully received. Thank you. I'm glad you think that. Thank you. So Body Smart Fitness, we've moved on to that. I mean, it's. I suppose let's just tackle this issue of why Body Smart Fitness is different, because I think it is 100%.
Yeah.
I suppose when people first jump on the website, they think, oh, it's just a personal trainer. It's just a personal trainer.
That's what they think. Yeah.
It's just someone telling me, wants to give me one of these diet plans that you type in if you want to eat beef, and it just rolls it off. Now, it's not that, is it?
Not at all.
So talk us through what is Body Smart Fitness and what does it do?
So here we go, elevator pitch. We help overworked, overwhelmed and undernourished busy professionals connect the dots between mindset, nutrition and fitness to realise their potential and live their best life.
Well, that is quite an elevator pitch.
Great one, isn't it?
You've got me convinced, but you only work with women at the moment.
I know we only work with women at the moment.
Which is a problem.
I know it's a problem. I know. I'm sorry. We'll have to. Never say never though. You know, it's not called Body Smart Women. It's never say never. But we are different. You mentioned diet plans there. We don't do diet plans. What's that proverb? You know, you can teach someone to give a person a fish and they'll eat for a day, teach someone to fish and they'll eat for a lifetime. And that's exactly what it is. Because when you give somebody a diet plan or even a workout plan, that's it. What do they do? What do they do around eating out? What do they do when they feel stressed? So it's about teaching people how to eat all of the foods that they love and still get results. So it's not about cutting carbs. You can eat pizza and do this if you want to. It's learning how much pizza that you can eat and still get your results. But there's a really heavy focus on the mindset piece more than anything else, along with the nutrition education, along with the exercise. It's working out why you do the things you do, why you emotionally eat, why you don't believe in yourself, why your confidence isn't great. And what I'm super proud of is the weight loss is a positive side effect. Everybody comes to us because they want to lose weight. Yeah. Everybody does. And unfortunately, from our messaging, that's what we're promoting. Oh, look at these before and after pictures. This person's lost weight, because that's what people want. What they graduate with is confidence, boundaries, self-love, self-care, self-worth. Women go for, one of the girls I'm being coached myself, so I've got a coach through Body Smart, which is, we all get coached, which is amazing. We have a WhatsApp group with all the other girls for that particular coach, and one girl went for a job last week that is life-changing for her, and she said herself on this message, I would never have had the confidence to do this before starting this, but she went for it, she got it. And she's been able to stick 2 fingers up at a job that she hated. And she's incredible. About to change her life. And so there's lots of things, women realise what they're capable of. Again, it goes back to that self-trust and that self-belief piece. And that comes from your mindset and working on, who are you? And what do you actually want? What do you want to do? And one thing that we do is we meet people where they are, which again comes back to that small action steps. Because we're not going to ask the mum of 3 to meal prep every meal and go to personal training 5 days a week. That is not realistic. No. That woman is going to burn out very, very quickly. What we're going to get her to do is track her calories so she can notice what she's been eating, is to make her realise when she's turning to food to soothe, or when she's cracking open the wine because the kids have been a pain. It's about getting her to move more and take more steps, enjoy her weekend, sleep more, hydrate more. Yeah. It's much more of a holistic piece, but it's very, very, my role is head of content. It's actually really difficult to market that because people just want quick, easy fat loss.
Yeah, I know. I mean, let's take through each of those items then in terms of tracking calories, first of all. I mean, I know it's something that gets trotted out, but the principle is right, that if you consume less than you burn, then you will lose weight. Not might, you will
it's science.
Lose weight.
It's fact and it's science.
And a calorie of pizza is the same as a calorie of carrots.
Exactly, yes.
So it's all about controlling your calories,
not controlling. I think that's the wrong word to use. Fine. It's about manipulating. I think it's about bending and flexing and knowing that, okay, so it's like saving. Jamie, my boss, always talks about, it's like saving for a house. So your fat loss phase isn't forever. And a lot of people wrongly believe that they're going to have to be in a calorie deficit forever. And you don't. I'll use myself as an example. I eat 1,400 calories a day at the moment. I'm going to London this weekend. So I've been eating a few less because I'm banking them for the weekend, absolutely. Right? That is not necessarily the strategy for everybody. That's a strategy I've come up with my coach. Yeah. I've got a plan for this coming week. I am in a fat loss phase right now. I've got 20 pounds left to go. Once I hit that, I then get to a point which I'll ask you this question. Have you ever heard of the term reverse dieting?
No, I can imagine what it might be, but I've not known, so tell me.
So this is our second stage, because the fat loss stage is the first part. Losing fat, and people will hate me for saying this, is the easy part. It's keeping it off. Absolutely. That's the hard part. Mm-hmm. So reverse dieting is about a coach supporting somebody through the psychological and behavioural aspect of, right, you've hit your fat loss goals, because what most of us do is, I'm thin, I'm skinny, I'm going to get my dress on, I'm going to eat all of the food, drink all of the wine and go out with the girls. Go out,
absolutely.
And then
go on oldie.
You go back in your comfort zone, you drop the actions that you've been doing and the weight creeps back on. And the stats say that 95% of us will gain all of the weight back and more within 2 years, which is depressing.
It is.
We're stuck in this yo-yo cycle. So getting through that fat loss phase and getting to a point where your coach can support you to gradually increase your calorie intake until you hit stage 3, which is maintenance.
Yeah.
And then it's about having strategies for when life changes and ebbs and flows, because it will. So what do you do when you have like a crazy week? Well, here's the minimum that you can commit to. What do you do when, you're a bloke? I'm sorry to talk about this, but what do you do when you're in that luteal phase of your menstrual cycle and your energy dips and it's low? Right, well, that's all about self-care. But just before ovulation, your energy's going to be higher. So come on, let's go for those PBs on the workout.
And on the planning that Body Smart Fitness factors in, it goes that granular.
Absolutely. It depends on the person.
Got you.
It depends on the person.
Like, I can see how that would benefit. Obviously I don't ovulate, but in terms of, I can totally sympathise that those instances in daily life, in practical life, are things you need to bear in mind.
My coach messages. So, talking of ovulation, I get wiped out, right, when that time. No, most people don't. Most people, it's that time of the month where they're feeling sexy and they want to go out and they want to be social. I'm like a hermit. Get me in bed at 9:00. I'm dead to the world. My coach has this as a diary reminder where she's like, do you need a bit more rest this week? Do you need a few more calories this week? So she tells me before I do. And that's incredible to be able to know, oh, right, we've got a plan for this and we've got to prep for this. But every person is different. Every single person is different. I'm probably a pain in the ass client because I am an emotional eater. I do turn to food. But I've been working with my coach on uncovering the triggers, and I have 2 definite triggers for me stuffing a block of Cathedral City in my gob. One of them is money. So my wages get paid into our joint account, but I've still got my current account from my book income and from when I had my own business. Yeah. And there's not much going in that, right?
Sure.
So when I check my bank balance, if it's gone into the red, that means I've got to ask the Royal Bank of Husband for a withdrawal and a transaction.
Yeah, it's a bank. I'm manager of that bank, I think.
It's like, I've got to ask for a transfer, which is fine. It's right. We're a team. We're a couple. It's what we should be doing. But it brings up these feelings for me of being a failure, which is stupid. It's absolutely stupid. But I have noticed with the help of my coach, by asking the right questions, because she'll say to me, what was the thought immediately before you opened the fridge? What happened? What were you doing? And it's like, light bulb moment. I just checked my online banking.
Okay.
I'm waiting for a payment to come in. It's not come in. Oh my God, I instantly went to turn to food. And then another one for me is when I feel like my time is not my own. So I'm a planner. I plan things out. Let's say I had something to do at 5:00 with my son, but something's happened at work and I cannot get out of it. It's got to be done, which means that 5:00 plan gets shifted. Well, you're taking my time. Oh my God. My first reaction is to want to soothe with food. So I'm in the cupboards. I'm looking for nuts. I'm looking for, Fiber One bars, ice cream, get it in my mouth. But this has been a long, gradual process of working out these triggers to then be able to go, I don't need to do that.
So you recognize the trigger and you can address it before
I'm doing it. So it's been, but also it's about coming up with solutions. So my coach will ask me questions like, well, why haven't you asked Sean for some money? Well, why don't you just go and ask? And then, of course, I'm really sorry. And he's like, don't be daft. And he transfers it straight away. Problem solved. Yeah. Whereas I might have just carried on that stress and carried on eating for days and days and days. But that's my story. As I say, I'm a pain in the arse client because emotional eating has been a big thing for me. I went to Overeaters Anonymous for a while, actually, a few years ago. I even tried the 12-step program.
That's not something I'm familiar with. I mean, is that a charity? Is it, or is it something with state funding?
No. So Alcoholics Anonymous. It follows the same format of the 12 steps.
Right.
Because people do use food, to soothe and comfort. But I went for about a couple of months and I didn't find, I think that principle, so the principle of the 12-step program is to take it one day at a time, which I've definitely brought into my world. But it was just a place that felt hopeless. It felt like it was a moan fest. It didn't feel like there was any solutions. And I'm the kind of person where, yes, have a moan, but come up with a way out of it. Come up with a plan. And it felt like I was listening to people moaning about how much they'd overeaten, and it didn't feel like it was benefiting me at all. Because if you think about alcoholics, drug addicts doing the 12-step program, it's abstinence. That's the deal. You don't drink, You don't take drugs,
Yeah.
you don't gamble, whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
Cocaine Addicts Anonymous, whatever it is, you just don't do that thing.
Yeah.
With food, you can't do that. You still got to eat, otherwise you're going to
That's
die.
true. That's true.
And there's a brilliant podcast called Hooked. And the two ladies who host that podcast, one's an alcoholic, one's a drug addict. They're both in recovery. They've been sober for many years. But I'll never forget an episode where they interviewed a lady who was part of Overeaters Anonymous, and it blew their brains because the one who was an alcoholic said, that's like me doing like 3 shots of tequila a day. Or the other one said, that's like me doing 3 lines a day, but still being expected to function with my addiction. And food addiction is you know, it's a real serious issue for a lot of people.
It's the only addiction that I can think of where abstinence is not.
You can't do it.
It's not.
You
it's not an option.
literally cannot do it. You can't do it. And I didn't like that label of being a food addict either. I'm not a fan of labels. I feel like we get to change and we can change who we are. And I just thought that super version of me that I want to get to via these series of decisions. I don't want to be a food addict. I don't want to be labelled as a food addict. So I've got to do this and I've got to uncover it. And through this nutrition education, learning about calories, because it's science. It's annoying. I hate tracking food. I hate tracking calories. No, sorry. I need to reframe my language. I am learning the power of data when I track my calories.
Excellent. Have you ever thought of a career in politics?
Oh, no.
You do one of these press conferences. It's so interesting. So, I mean, in terms of body smart fitness, we've covered there, haven't we? The nutritional, the dietary, and the really important coaching, the well-being side, the triggers. How does the training aspect of that factor in? Because I'm someone who, I really enjoy exercising. I exercise a lot. There have been periods when I've been exercising without any real targets, or perhaps exercising without any real thought. Just, I've been to the gym today, so that's all right. That type of thing. How do you give more structure around that fitness program?
So we have an app for all of our clients, and they get a program is written for a client specifically. So I've got a rotator cuff injury at the moment, for example. So a lot of my exercises don't involve my shoulder. So my plan is specific to me, and it's tracked on the Body Smart app. And so it has your sets and your reps, but it also shows you what you lifted last time.
Oh, okay, right.
So you've got something to progress with. And doing the Body Smart Fitness podcast as well, we did an episode a few weeks ago where Jamie, who co-hosts it with me, was talking about men often lift too heavy, women don't lift enough. And that was really, it was really, really pivotal for me. You know, it was one of those moments where I was like, am I even trying hard enough? And so, interestingly, since recording that, I've pretty much doubled the weight that I lift at the gym. And I think if I hadn't have had that inspiration to even give it a go and even try it, I wouldn't have done it. And now I'm seeing these amazing results come, and I'm tracking them in the app. And it tells me, you know, you've got 10 personal bests today and you've lifted 50% more volume. And it keeps me going and it keeps me spurred into action. But without that plan, I would, and I have been in the past, somebody who faffs in the gym.
Yeah,
you know, a bit of the elliptical, few bicep curls, go on social media. I'm in the gym, sweaty selfie. Oh, I'll do the stepper. And then before you know it, it's time to go.
Well, they keep telling me to do those reels for this podcast in terms of being in the gym and recording myself 15 seconds. I'll have to get with the
30,
program.
15 or 30. Yeah. You can do it. Get some good music on there. Trending songs, you'll be fine.
So we're going to put bodysmartfitness.co.uk on the socials. I've got to say, check the website out, guys, because this issue of the people being at the forefront of the business is really clear. The full team is on there. Exactly what you guys do to help is set out. And it's fascinating to me that great self-discipline, the last 5 or so years for you seems to follow such an interesting chain, because you've had challenge, followed by learning, followed by writing, and now you've moved it into the business sphere.
Yeah.
So is that how it's felt like to you?
It's been, I wouldn't wish a breakdown on anybody at all. But I always say, I shattered into a million pieces when I lost the plot. But it was amazing because it allowed me to examine every single piece before I decided whether I was putting it back or not. So I feel like I've been able to mold who I was always meant to be. And it's been incredible. And it's been a journey that has been full of self-awareness, learning about myself. Like, I actually really, really enjoy being on my own. I never even realised. I always thought I was an extrovert. I'm actually an introverted extrovert. I love silence. I love being on my own. I need to be on my own to recharge. But I'll also, as my husband says, talk a glass eye to sleep, and speak to anybody. So it's been a journey of self-discovery and realising what I'm capable of. And when you can challenge yourself and when you can achieve things that you never thought possible, it genuinely is life-changing. It really is.
It is, and I just want to give you so much credit, Gemma, for the way you've done that. I mean, the story you've told us on the podcast today is so inspirational. It's so motivating. You've not only given us such a good understanding of how our mind and how our behaviours influence some of the issues we've talked about, but you've given so much in the way of practical planning and step taking that I just know everyone's going to find so useful. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I want to just finish with the question that I ask all of my guests, which is, what does success mean to you?
Oh, it's an easy one. To be happy, healthy, and financially secure. And my family to be all right. That's always been. I've always said that. Happy, healthy, financially secure. Yeah.
I think if you got those three things, anything can be built, can't it? That's the solid foundations upon which success can be built. So I couldn't agree with you more, Gemma. I was right. You are the best Gemma Ray. That other one can go away.
She's a good singer, though.
She's not coming on here, though. I've had the best one now. There's a step down. Guys, let's give a round of applause to Gemma Ray. Thanks for coming, Gemma.
Thank you for having me.
So I don't know about you, I thought that interview was fantastic with Gemma Ray. What did you like most about the interview with her?
Oh, she was a brilliant guest. Well, obviously, because she's a fellow podcaster, she's very used to putting her point across in a very, very concise and interesting way. And obviously, with her being a background as a presenter for the BBC, she was so strong like that. But I mean, what a story!
Oh, wow, no, she had me in tears, honestly. Like the part where she was talking about, forgiving yourself and she's pulling herself to bits in the mirrors and stuff like that. Like, I feel like that's so many people in this day and age who feel that way. So, it was just really interesting to hear her speaking the truth and, and to know that other people suffer like that, It
was one because, I mean, I can't remember hearing such a powerful image described.
Yeah.
But you are right that, we all feel a bit like that, don't we? When we've made a bad judgment, when we've had a bad experience, when we've got ourselves into a situation that we don't like, the self-blame can be overwhelming. But I think what Gemma was able to articulate really strongly was that the first step to solution finding is self-forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I can see how that can work, can you?
Definitely. I love that she breaks it down into small steps for herself to make it easier for us to take in and to be successful with the solution to the problem. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic.
And then with Body Smart Fitness, she's not only written about these subjects, but also, that she's aligned herself now with a business who does this in practice.
Yeah.
So she's very much a walking encyclopedia of positive success finding, positive solution finding. So I really love meeting Gemma, and she definitely is the best Gemma Ray.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, that's all we got time for. This fantastic episode with Gemma Ray. Success won't come calling. Hope you enjoyed it. See you again soon. This is the podcast for people who want to be better tomorrow than they were today. See you guys.